All right, good day, everybody. Steve Prziborowski here. Welcome to Courage Under Fire Leadership, 7 Ways to Win. This is based on the previous session that I presented, 7 Deadly Sins. In a normal class setting, if we had an hour and a half, 2 hours or more, I'd be doing 7 Deadly Sins and then 7 Ways to Win. So this package deal, for lack of a better term, is meant to help make you the best officer you can be. Whether you're a current officer or you're an aspiring officer, I want to give you some tips, some suggestions, some key points, and some takeaways so you can be the best that you can be for ultimately those that you're fortunate to lead and serve. So this is a part of Fire Shows West virtual conference. Unfortunately, given the pandemic that we're all dealing with around the world, we can't be here in person. As much as I love being in front of an audience, as I'm very fortunate to do on a regular basis, this is the next best thing. So I know I'm presenting this virtually and not live, but when it's getting presented, actually in October during the conference, there will be a time for a Q&A session that I'll be a part of after the session if you have any questions. And if obviously not, I'll share my contact information as well, so please feel free to reach out if I can ever be of assistance to you. So my name is Steve Prziborowski. I'm a Deputy Chief of the Santa Clara County Fire Department. Been in the fire service for about 28 plus years, and I really have a passion for helping people get hired, helping people stay hired, helping people get promoted, helping people stay promoted, and then ultimately helping people be the best they can be regardless of ranks. They can ultimately enjoy their retirement. And when they call it a day, they can leave things better than they found them. So hopefully my passion and my enthusiasm will be shared with you during the next hour or so that we have together. So I want to start off my presentation. Like I mentioned, I'm a resource for you. My 2 websites I run, code3firetrain.com. That's my personal website. Lots of great officer development, promotional preparation, leadership information on there. A lot of webinars to help you get promoted. Just click the free stuff link and it'll keep you busy for days, if not months. Seriously, a lot of good stuff on there, as I'm told. I mean, I like to think it's good since I took the time and effort to put it there. But again, lots of great resources as well as my contact information. And then also, I teach part-time at Chabot College's fire technology program. Chabot's in Hayward, just south of Oakland. I've been doing that for about 28 years as well, too. I also run the website for the program, chabotfire.com. So if you know of any entry-level firefighters that want to get started in the career, have them check out the website. There's also a free stuff link with lots of great free information. So that out of the way, just want to share some basic ground rules, just like I shared in the first presentation, 7 Deadly Sins. I'm going to share some videos, share some pictures, talk about some scenarios. I'm here, and I hope you're here to find the lessons learned. We're not here to point fingers, make fun of, critique, Monday morning quarterback, laugh at, call people stupid, call people dumb. We don't do that stuff, but we have to learn from history, and that's why I want to share some situations to hopefully encourage and challenge and inspire you to learn from history. So if and when the same situation happens to you, you can maybe do it with a better outcome. On that note, I want you to imagine if you or your department was faced with any of these situations that I discuss. Think about it. Could you do anything differently to have a different outcome? I'm not saying Monday morning quarterback. I know it's quick for people to say after they watch a video, I would never have done that. I wouldn't have been on that roof before it collapsed. That's dumb, duh. Or I wouldn't have got. Okay, we're not here to do that. But again, I don't want you to be so naive that you stick your head in the sand like an ostrich thinking it'll never happen to you. Like in the 7 Deadly Sins, the previous scenario, the previous session that I did, one of the segments I talked about was a sex in the firehouse scandal that is still plaguing the United States. Thankfully not on a regular basis, but it's still happening. And I remember I get that a lot. I get a lot of firefighters, well, Steve, this stuff you talk about, that never happens in our department, or that won't happen in our department. We're better than that. You can't be that naive. Everything that I discuss, at some point, if it hasn't happened, it will happen at some point, whether it's a line of duty death, a firefighter getting injured, someone getting cancer, someone having a nervous breakdown, firefighter committing suicide, alcohol, substance abuse, domestic violence, firefighters getting arrested. I don't know. These situations are happening, and you may go, how could that be? Well, guess what? We don't hire or promote resumes. We hire and promote people that have challenges. And especially now during our pandemic in 2020, it's bringing a lot of things up to the surface. And again, it's hard to tell people, oh, just leave your baggage at the door, you know, leave your personal stuff at the door when you get into the firehouse. It don't work that way. So that's the challenging part about leadership and being a fire officer in today's fire services. You've got to wear a lot of different hats. So I talked a lot about those hats in the 7 deadly sins that I encourage you to check out. Let's talk about some of the positive ways that you can be a good, solid leader. So as I mentioned, this presentation builds upon the previous session, 7 deadly sins, and in partnership makes up 7 deadly sins, 7 ways to win. Like I said, normally I do this in like an hour and a half, 2 hours, where we discuss the 7 deadly sins the first half and then make up the second half, try to end on a positive note. So that's what we're hoping to do now. 7 ways to win as a fire officer, a leader in today's fire service. Number 1, be a leader of one, personal leadership. If you can't be a leader of one, meaning yourself, how do you expect to be a leader of any? Some people suck at personal leadership, and then they wonder why they're not a good leader, or they wonder why the people don't follow them. Again, you got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. You've got to be that one that realizes everybody is watching our every move and ready to critique every move, especially the higher up the chain of command that you go. So you got to be a leader of one. I look at this picture right here. I love sharing this. This is from our neighbors, San Jose Fire. They posted this on their Instagram page. Now, I bet you there's some of you watching this right now going, those guys are a bunch of idiots. Why didn't they take the windows? Or there's some that are saying, man, bucket list item. They should have taken those windows. That was their chance. Yeah, okay, that's one way to look at it. I want you to start looking bigger picture now. As an officer, I think that's one of the challenges. I mean, not just the fire service, but any line of work, is encouraging and challenging, getting people to think bigger picture, not just have the in the weeds look, but also the 10,000 foot view, the 30,000 foot view. As a chief officer, I'm proud of this crew. Give me this crew any day of the week. And you may go, huh? I mean, as a firefighter, you're probably laughing going, what a bunch of wussies. They had their chance. I mean, again, as a firefighter, you probably think that way. And that's not meant disrespectfully. I thought that way as a firefighter, because as a firefighter, think about this. As a firefighter, do you honestly give a crap about safety, risk management? You're going, huh? Yeah. Safety, risk management, legal issues, public relations. Some of those things maybe more than others, but as a firefighter, for the most part, I remember myself, I just wanted to fight fire, save lives. 10 days a month, it was great to serve the public and have them give you attaboys or attagals, attagirls, or whatever it is. It was cool. But back to the situation here, that takes leadership. Now, I understand, like all of us should understand, that any kinks in a hose can cause friction loss and reduce the gallons per minute coming out of a hydrant or a hose line. I get there's a time and a place to break a window to feed that hose through. I get it. This was not one of those times, because I don't see any kinks in that hose. When I look at this situation right here, I'm going, that's leadership. And this is what was posted originally by their union. You know, crews from Engine 21 were forced to get creative when securing a water supply. They were trying to use this as a public relations tool. You know, our fire engines, like most engines, carry only 500 gallons of water that can be depleted in less than 4 minutes. We need quick access to hydrants. Even the smallest kink can reduce flows. I mean, again, they're trying to do it positively. And give me this type of crew any day. This is a crew that did what they had to do, but they also, more importantly, didn't have the holier than thou attitude or take it out on the customer. Because again, in some parts of the country, I know it's acceptable to some people that, well, hell, it was their stupidity to park in the fire lane. They're parked in the red zone. They're parked in the hydrant. Screw them. That'll teach them to never do that again. Okay, that is one approach, but again, we're better than that, aren't we? We need to take the high road. Leadership means taking the high road, not making fun of people, not talking crap about people, taking the high road. Again, had this car been maybe 2 feet forward, yeah, they probably would have had to take the windows. And again, it is what it is. But in this case, they didn't, and they made a conscious effort to not do that. So kudos to San Jose Fire for doing that. And you know what? There's a time and a place to do everything, just like there's a time and a place to do this. You know, but again, do the right thing. You can't go wrong. Watch this little short video clip of Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Whether or not you like the NFL or the Cowboys, doesn't matter. Just watch him. He's on the sidelines of a game, typical Sunday game, pre-COVID, where there was fans everywhere, 60,000, 70,000. I don't know how many that stadium holds, but anyway, thousands of people in the stadium, plus how many countless people watching on TV. But watch what he does. He's throwing away his Gatorade water cup or whatever was in the air there. But watch him as he throws it over his shoulder, what he does. It's a short clip, and I'll show it maybe one more time. Watch this.
Obviously, last 3 drives, 10 plays, 13 plays, and another 13 plays.
Watch that. Let's watch that just one more time. Watch him again.
Last 3 drives, 10 plays, 13 plays, and another 13 plays.
He distinctively did a number of things. Number one, he threw it over his shoulder. But number two, he didn't just throw it over and forget about it. He did a second look back, or he looked back. And when he looked back, he realized it didn't go in. And how many people, first of all, would have even looked back? Very few. Athletes, firefighters, doesn't matter who, human beings. How many people, even if they looked back and saw it hit the ground, would have actually taken the time to do that? I mean, I know we've all been in the fire service long enough where you probably heard some of the people, you can imagine some of your coworkers, past, present, or future, saying, not my job, that's the janitor's job. I don't want to put a union brother or sister out of a job, so I'll leave that for them to clean up. Okay, by Dak Prescot picking up his trash, I don't think it's going to put a union brother or sister, whether or not they're represented by the union or not, I don't think it's going to put someone out of a job, trust me. Why do you think he did that? And again, if we were in class, it'd be a good discussion, but we're doing this virtually, so we'll make the best of it. In short, I wondered the same thing too. Because I love asking the question, do you think he did that because A, he was in front of 60, 70,000 people at the stadium that were watching him? Because again, you're on the field, all eyes are on you. Or did he do that because it wasn't just the 60, 70,000 in the stadium, it was also the couple 100,000, if not millions, worldwide watching? Do you think he did that? Probably not. I mean, because even as an athlete, he's not the only one in the field. He's one of many on the field, and you don't always know when you're on the TV. Now, someone, when I was teaching this class out in Texas a few years ago, somebody actually mentioned, no, because they saw a documentary on him saying, no, that's how he was raised. That's the type of man he was raised by his parents. I can't remember if he was a single mother or not, but anyway, his mother, I think, raised him. And she raised him to be a good human being. And someone even joked in class going, now this is a home game, as you can tell, because Dallas is the second team listed. Someone made a joke in class that going, oh no, that's how he was raised. If he didn't look over his shoulder and he left that crap on the ground, his mama would have had that sixth sense like moms do, and she would have jumped out of the stands and probably not picked it up, but probably grabbed him by the ear in front of how many hundreds of thousands of people and told him to pick that crap up right now. And she would have called him out. She would have held him accountable because she started out with expectations like we discussed in 7 Deadly Sins. She demonstrated expectations, and more importantly, she would have held him accountable. And had this been an away game, let's say this was in Baltimore, had he done that and had his mama seen this, she probably would have been blasting his phone with text messages and voicemails of saying, you just embarrassed the family's name on nationwide TV, blah, blah. Now, again, I'm sharing some things that were shared with me by some people that live in Dallas that I guess follow the Cowboys and this individual's career. But basically, it's character. He did that because of the character that he is. But how many athletes, if even firefighters, would have just not even bothered, out of sight, out of mind? No different from in the firehouse walking by, seeing a piece of paper on the ground and stepping on it or walking around it versus picking it up and throwing it away. Character. That's what we should be hiring for and promoting for. That's personal leadership. And you may say, well, he sucks at his quarterbacking skills. Well, he's one of 30 professional quarterbacks starting in the NFL, so that says something. Now think about this. If you ask the typical firefighter, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, who would make the best captain, think about who they would probably say. And I said the same thing too. Well, typically we look at whoever the best is at that current rank, and we're very quick to say, well, if Joe is a great firefighter, they'll make a great captain. Or if Joe is an awesome captain, they'll make an awesome battalion chief. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the people that are best at their current rank are meant to stay there because that's their best. And then sometimes we promote them to positions that are not in their wheelhouse, not in their skill set. And that's the point, is that we can train most people to throw ladders, pull hose, don SCBAs, but we can't teach them skills like this, personal leadership. We can't teach people to be nice. We can't teach people to do the little things like this. We can't teach people to not be an asshole or a jerk or whatever. So think about that. Let that settle in for a little bit. Personal leadership is critical, but there's something to be said about that. Second way to win, take ownership and have pride. Something that I think is a lost art sometimes. Take ownership and pride in yourself, your personnel, your apparatus, your department, your community, all the above. I mean, these should be no-brainers. Take a look at some of these pictures. You look at this picture right here. This was a picture a friend of mine in another department sent me. He was so pissed. He got to work from his 4-day and he saw, and of course, he was C shift. Friggin' B shift left the toilet paper like that. You know, shift wars typically. And as a firefighter, we laugh about this stuff. As a driver, I'd laugh about this stuff. As an officer, company officer, chief officer, this stuff better scare the crap out of you. Why? Because if this is how they're doing their house chores, how are they doing their rig checkouts? How are they doing their PPE checkouts? How are they doing their equipment checkouts? If they're half-assing a roll of toilet paper, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing everything else top notch. I'm going to be worried as shit, because if this is the way they're dealing with just basic skills, how does the other stuff go? And we're trusting our lives with our crew, our coworkers, and our crew members. So this may be a symptom or a sign of something more significant. And you may go, well, I don't want to sweat the small stuff. I don't want to micromanage. No, that's not sweating the stuff. It's not micromanaging. Micromanaging is telling people, well, make sure you put the fold out versus fold in. Because there is one right way or wrong way, right? Fold in or fold out. And I love when I'm in class and everybody else, most people usually say it's fold out only. And then there's some fold in. Good Lord, we can't even agree for anything, but that's okay. Back to the story though. Take ownership and have pride, not just in your station. Take pride in your first due area, in your hydrants. Making sure that, and I'll first disclose, these are not hydrants even in my jurisdiction or in my county. They were taken in another state when I was out and about doing some travel one day, and I just had to take some pictures because they just really stuck out there. But these are pictures of hydrants. Well, you may be able to find them at 2 in the afternoon, but what about 2 in the morning? If you can't find them even at 2 in the afternoon, you ain't gonna find them at 2 in the morning. So I know there's some firefighters that are quick to say, well, we don't own the hydrants. They're the water company's hydrants. Why should we do their work? Well, guess what? Who's the main user of them when a house is on fire at 2 in the morning? It ain't the water company, it's us. And I don't want to be embarrassed because number one, I can't find the hydrant, or number two, I can't access it, or I can't get it to work because we haven't tested it, maintained it, or anything. Take ownership, have pride. Just like in your hose beds right here. These are some different hose beds from around the country. Now, I posted this on Twitter a couple of years ago, and the one on the top left, this is an LA County engine in South Central Los Angeles that runs probably 15, 20 calls a day. Inglewood, California, 173. Well, I remember posting this on Twitter, and I remember, of course, all the trolls come out, and somebody from somewhere immediately went in without doing their homework and said, oh, that must be an engine company that's bored. They sleep all day. They run 1 call a week. They got nothing better to do than have their hose look clean. That don't mean squat. Thank God the engineer for that rig actually chimed in on Twitter. I'm assuming it's him. I'm not going to doubt him. This individual actually replies with a tweet, tactfully, respectfully saying, excuse me, sir, I'm the engineer of this rig on whatever shift. We are a busy South Central LA company that runs whatever 15, 20 calls a day. We drop hose daily for multiple fires. We still find the time to take pride and ownership in our apparatus. If we can do it, everybody else can do it too. And then from there, I got all these other engines from around the country. You look at the one below that, Hell's Kitchen, Washington, D.C. there. I mean, again, very busy inner city department that fights fire and drops hose. They can have their stuff look clean, as well as some other rigs from around the country as well too. I don't care if you're slow or you're busy. If you want to take pride and ownership in your rigs, your station, your equipment, you can do it. Now, I'm not saying these guys and gals are all dialed in when the bell goes off, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I bet you when I open up these compartments, the tools are going to be maintained, the tools are going to be clean, they're going to be dialed in, they're going to be ready to go. They're going to get my benefit of the doubt any day of the week. And it's not about looks, don't get me wrong, but again, I bet you they're not going to have toilet paper rolls either that are sitting on top of the roll. Just a saying. Way to win number 3. This is as simple as do your job, because that covers everything. In the previous episode of 7 deadly sins, my number one deadly sin was not establishing expectations. And a lot of times I get the question, hey, Steve, what are your top 5 expectations? Well, this is number 1, do your job, because it should cover everything. Sadly, it doesn't. But anyway, do your job. You look at this crew here responding to a call. Now, I blame the whole crew. Obviously, the officer is usually ultimately at fault. You've got a driver, you've got a tiller person, maybe 1 or 2 people riding backwards. But I don't care what type of call they were going for. I mean, this is a teamwork. As a team, we get to the call as a team safely. As a team, we effectively, hopefully manage the call. As a team, we come back to the firehouse and train for the next call. The team failed on this one. And I may not be quick to call out the 2 people if they're riding backwards, because I'll be honest that, hey, if you're riding backwards behind the captain and the driver, it's probably hard to see where you're going. I get it. But the engineer, you got a driver, you got a tiller person, you got a captain, and I also know the officer may have their head buried in the map book or in the iPad or the laptop, whatever you use, old school, the iPhone to get yourself to the call. I get it. But again, we can't be so focused on getting our butts to the call, because if something like this happens, we ain't going to the call. So you're hauling ass, not paying attention. Well, the baby's not breathing. Baby's still not breathing. And you're not moving either, because you can't move until the battalion chief comes out to take a report. Police come out, take a report. Mechanics come out to check to see if the rig's good enough to be in service, or you have to switch into a reserve rig. Oh yeah, baby's still not breathing. So we got to get there safely and effectively. Also, another department, if you wonder how fast that rig was going, now, as far as I know, nobody was killed or injured in this, thank God. But take a look at this shot. The rig was going left, right to left. So it was continuing left. This is the back side of the rig here. And when you're watching the back side, 7 feet 11, I don't know of any fire engine that is less than 8 feet. So my point is, drivers need to understand their specs, weight, height, width, all those things. As an officer, it's not micromanaging if you test your crews. A good officer, when they're assigned to a new crew, are going to take that driver, whether they're a 40-year veteran or a 6-month rookie who's driving, they're going to take that person out. All right, let's go drive the first due. You're going to take them on the freeways if you have hills. You're going to take them on narrow streets, wide streets. You're going to take them under underpasses to see how good they know their rig. I failed at this as a firefighter. I remember my captain on Engine 1, I think first day out of the academy, captain's testing my driving me all around the area. He drives me under one of these things. Now, I remember it clearly. It said 9 feet 6 inches. So we're going under this bridge that says 9 feet 6 inches. And I remember as I'm getting about a half a block away from this and I see the 9 feet 6, I started crapping in my pants, because guess what I failed to do that morning, like many drivers? I didn't learn the specs of my rig. I checked the rig out, but I didn't memorize the specs. Most departments, what I've seen, either have it like mounted in the rig, like the height, the weight, so you don't have to look. Some departments may have a binder or in somewhere within the driver's view, but my recommendation is the weight, width, height, post that crap in the rig so everyone can see it. But anyway, I remember 9 foot 6, and I remember looking at my captain, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, my captain's not going to have me damage the rig, is he? Is he testing? Yeah, he's testing me. And I finally stopped, and I go, hey, Cap, I go, I don't know if we can make it or not, can we? And he was a good captain. He wasn't spoon feeding me. He goes, I don't know, not my job. He goes, I know the height. Why don't you know the height? And of course, hey, I screwed up, my bad. I didn't check it out in the morning. He goes, well, figure out how to figure it out without getting a tape measure and measuring. And he goes, look in the damn binder. Okay, so I pulled out the binder and I said, oh, it's 10, the rig is whatever, 10 feet, excuse me, the rig is 9 feet 0, and this thing says 9 feet 6. So I go, we got 6 inches to spare. Stop, Steve. And I go, what do you mean? I go, binder says 9 feet, that says 9.6, we got 6 inches. He goes, what's that point measured to? And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, are you sure where the 9 feet 6 inches comes to? Meaning, is it the top of the deck gun? Is it the top of the hose bed? Is it whatever, the light bar? And is there stuff above that? Because a lot of engines around the country, or apparatus in general, don't have enough compartment space. So it's not uncommon to see stuff stuffed all atop the engines or the rigs because there's no room or no compartment space left. So maybe that 9'6" is not 9'6". It's higher because of all the crap that's loaded on top there. Or is the deck unseated completely? He made me get out, and I thank God I checked everything. There was nothing above there. We went through it slowly, and I was still almost closing my eyes. Nothing bad happened. But it taught me that I better know my stats on my rigs. And when I became a captain, I did the same thing. I would take crews, just brand new drivers and stuff like this, or even a senior driver, just to test them. And of course, I'd get crap from them of, well, you don't trust me to do my job or know my job. I've been doing this for 35 years, longer than you've been alive, kid. No, it's trust but verify. It's good for me to get out in the first due area, but it's also good for me to just see your strengths and your weaknesses. You don't question. You don't believe me. You don't go there, dude. Let's just do this. But again, good officers are willing to challenge their personnel to get them out of their comfort zone, and sometimes find out things they don't know, because sometimes they don't know. And I'd rather do that in training than have this happen, because besides changing pants, changing shorts, showering because of the oh crap moment we just had, and God forbid, thankfully, nobody was killed or injured, guess what? We're going to be in a reserve engine for a long time. And most reserve engines, you don't want to be in for more than about 10 minutes, right? Moving everything over. It's 20 years older than this one if you're lucky. Or if your frontline engine's 15 years, like some departments, that means the reserve's 25 or 30 years. Yeah, do the math. Keep your frontline engines working. Take the time, get out and see your first due areas. All right, simply put, when the bell goes off, this is something every officer should be able to handle or answer. Is your crew ready to handle it? What does it mean? Anything. Anything you may be able to get called on. Number two, do you know the strengths and weaknesses of your crew? Don't believe people. Get them out on the drill ground. Get them out training. That's how you learn the strengths and weaknesses of your folks. It's good to hear ask them the question, hey, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? But trust but verify and validate. Again, taking someone's word is one thing, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be distrustful of people. You have to trust people, but trust is earned. It's a two-way street. So it's okay to challenge people, not in a punitive way, not in a mean way, just a training safe way, because I'd rather have stuff happen during the training than the real life. Will you do all you can to ensure your crew goes home safely? Can you honestly say that? Sorry. If not, go back to the oath of office. But these are our main things as an officer. We better be able to handle it when the Mr. and Mrs. Smith calls. We better know the strengths and weaknesses of our crew, because we may need to call other personnel, other rigs. And can we do our best as officers and leaders to make sure our crew goes home safely? I mean, it may not happen, but we got to do our best to at least try. So way to win number 4. A phrase I love is prompt for success. I mentioned in the previous session as a leader, as an officer, you should never be looking for things that are wrong. Never look for gotcha moments. I got you, you screwed up. No. Look for good things. Look to compliment things when necessary. And when things are maybe going south or people are headed down the wrong track, prompt them for success. Prompt for success means throwing them a bone. Hey, did you consider this? Did you think about that? Don't allow personnel to enable or cover for their brothers or sisters. That's not what it's about. Instead, encourage them to take care of your brothers and your sisters. That's, I think, is what it comes down to. So true brothers and sisters don't let others fail. A good example is prompt for success. Let's say you're pulling up to that 7'11" marker that one engine went through. A good officer, even if their driver had told them, I know my rig, I've been driving forever, I've been blah, 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 a good officer would hopefully, as they're coming up close, hopefully the officer knows the stats of the rig before you call someone out. I'm not saying call someone out, but if the good officer knows that rig will not fit, hey, Rick, I'm not micromanaging you, I'm not second guessing you, but are you 100% sure that this rig will fit through there? Because the last time I checked, I thought this rig said it was 8 feet 5 inches tall in the rig, and that's saying 7'11". We ain't gonna make it. I mean, prove me wrong. I'm not trying to tell you how to drive, dude. That's your job. You're the driver, but I mean, again, because if you say nothing at all, and well, come on, Cap, no, we'll make it. No, no, for my sake, just can we just stop? Let me just check the binder here just to make sure that we fit it. Again, prompt them for success, because you may get better followership out of your leadership that way versus just, hey, I got you. No, we're not here to get you. We're to try to prompt for success. Just like as a chief officer, when I've got my battalion chief or my captain or even firefighter in training, lower ranks, that sometimes come up to me and say, hey, chief, you can do what you want, but have you thought about this? Or did you consider this? Or did you think about this? And a lot of times the answer is no. Good call, good catch. I did not think about that. Thank you. Let me rethink this just for a second. That's not being indecisive. It's taking in more information when appropriate and now using that information for the better. Or I might say, actually, I did think about that, but thank you for the heads up. I did think about that, but we're going to continue to go down this path because I wasn't too worried about this occurring, taking into all the pros and the cons. I think this should be a good avenue to go down to. But again, thank you very much, because by thanking them, that encourages them to come back again. Versus if they come up and, hey, Cap, did you think about this? Shut up, don't tell me how to do my job. I've been on this earth longer than you have. I've got underwear older than you are, and you're not the boss, I am. When you promote to captain, you can do what you want. What do you think that just did to that person that was actually trying to help you out? That person was trying to help you be a better leader, help you not make a mistake. And what did you do? Boom! Shut up! What do you think they're going to do the next time? They're going to let you fail. And behind your back there, see, I told them, happens all the time. Look at firefighter fatalities, look at firefighter accidents, injuries, and it's not uncommon sometimes that people around the situation knew something bad was going to happen, but they didn't say anything because the culture in their organization did not allow someone to speak up, someone to raise their hand and prompt someone for success. You know those people in your department. Some are great about it, some are not so great about taking advice from especially people of lower ranks. Hey, I can make mistakes with the best of them all day long, but I would sure love somebody to tell me, hey, Steve, did you think about that? And then maybe, no, I didn't. Thank you very much. That's not weak. To me, that's good leadership because you're letting your people come to you and encourage you. And heck, when your folks stop coming to you and stop trying to help you out, you failed as a leader. And I think that's that key right there to think about. So, all right, regarding way to win number 5, have passion, have compassion, 2 separate words, passion and compassion. I think those are critical to success in leadership in today's world. I mean, think about it. You want to be successful at an oral interview for a promotion or for a hire, show your passion, show your compassion. I mean, that's so much about that can get people hired or promoted. But especially as a leader, if you can demonstrate your passion, your compassion, you're going to help get followership, and you're going to help, help show that you care, for lack of a better phrase, I guess. But I think that's the key, is you got to have passion and compassion. And I think, whatever it is about the fire service, about your personnel, about your fire department, about your community, you got to live, sleep, eat, breathe, and love your department, your community, your personnel. If you're at the point where you're so disenfranchised, well, the city's screwing us, the leadership sucks, the fire chief needs to retire, my crew don't listen to me anymore, the public don't give a crap, the elected officials, blah, blah, and we all know those individuals, maybe not in our department, but in other departments, time to retire. Because how do you think that attitude is showing to your crew? Because if that's the way you're demonstrating yourself to others, you're probably doing the same to your crew, and you're probably taking it out on the customers that call 911. Because it's hard to have it's hard to be Jekyll and Hyde, for lack of a better term. If you're one way with some, you're probably the same with others. But have passion. You know what? We're so fortunate to do this job, whether we're career, volunteer, big city, small department, 1 station, 100 stations. We are in a unique profession, volunteer, career. Like I said, it doesn't matter. We get to do what very few ever get to do. Besides ride Big Red, go into people's houses, help them in their time of need. So keep that passion that you had when you got hired in your interview, if not your promotional interview as well, too, of how you're going to change the world and be better and do all these great things. Care for your personnel, both on and off duty, especially today. Think about all the health and wellness, behavioral health issues that we are dealing with. I mean, even before the pandemic hit us, the mental health, behavioral health, suicides, PTSI, PTSD numbers, not just for fire service members, but the world in general, we're going through the roof at an astronomical rate, not getting better, getting worse. And obviously the pandemic is making that a lot worse. So if you're a leader in the fire service, heck, and again, and I'm saying leaders are at any rank. You don't have to be an officer. You could be a firefighter, but care for your folks on and off duty. Do a buddy check, welfare check, especially after a tough call. You know, I had one crew one time, they were debating about, well, we just ran a drowning call and the medic has a, you know, it was like whatever, like a 2-year-old kid at the time. And that's what age group, I guess, the medic had at home. So it really hit the medic hard. And I remember the battalion chief calling me up and I go, well, do we need to send the crew, you know, do we need to send them to critical incident stress debriefing? Because we have a team that can do that. I go, should we send them home? Should we keep them on duty? And the battalion chief, who actually had experience with critical incident stress, goes, Steve, he goes, they all say they're okay. But again, I know there's a time where we all say, we all toughen up that we're all okay, we got this. But there's a time sometime for leadership to sometimes say, you know what, as your advocate in your best interest, this is what I'm going to do. You can hate me for the rest of your life for doing this now. Hopefully you'll appreciate it later on, or at least understand why I'm doing what I'm doing now in your best interest. And I say that with all sincerity. But this battalion chief goes, Steve, he goes, actually, I think they're good. He goes, in all reality, chief, he goes, you know what? He goes, I think the crew's going to be fine. He goes, I'm not worried about them on shift. I think actually for the next 12 hours of their shift, they'll be fine. Because the crew, as a crew, we all know can, you know, we have our dark gallows humor, the other things we do to make things better or to maybe help de-stress things. He goes, they'll do what they normally do as firefighters. He goes, I don't want to send him home now because now he's going to go home to his 2-year-old kid. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, but he goes, I worry about the 4 days. So this chief actually had some good points. The chief goes, I think the person is at their best right now because they got their crew right by their side. He goes, I worry about the 4 days that they're off. He goes, so just to give you a heads up, chief, and talk about a battalion chief that had his act together. He goes, chief, he goes, I'm comfortable with the crew staying on duty. I think they're good to go. I trust them. He goes, but I'm also going to make sure I check in every single day with that crew member just to make sure they're okay. Just do a buddy check. He goes, I've already talked to the captain and the other firefighter and asked them to do the same. And they both already said, hey, no, chief, we're already going to do that. You know, so he goes, we're going to make sure we check in and keep an extra eye on the person because again, when they get off duty and now they get home, that's when things can get more challenging. But again, I know everybody handles stress differently. So that's the challenging part, is what works for one may not work for another. But the key is at least giving a crap about not just the folks that call us, pay for us to be here, but the folks that are with us here to solve everyone's problems, because sometimes the rescuers or the first responders or the firefighters, we're the ones that sometimes can take that baggage home, and it can be very, as we know, tragic. So we got to look out for each other. I think enough said there. Take care of those that we're sworn to serve. I think I've hit that point. Don't let passion get the best of you. Sometimes passion can be both a positive and a negative, depending on how overly passionate you are. But again, I'd rather have you be overly passionate than under passionate. And again, especially the higher up you go, don't forget where you came from. Make sure you can connect with all ranks. Don't be checked out. I get it. Way to win, number 6, establish and maintain effective working relationships. This is critical to not just firefighters, but life. You know, as for relationships, get to know those around you ASAP. Get to know your boss. Whether you like your boss or hate your boss, it doesn't matter. You better get to know your boss, their likes, their dislikes, their pet peeves, their expectations. Get to know your peers, your other counterparts. Get to know your personnel, their strengths, their weaknesses. Same thing, their pet peeves, their expectations. You know, get to know your other agencies. If you respond mutual aid or automatic aid on a regular basis, start reaching out to those companies. Hey, can we meet for coffee? Hey, you want to come over to our firehouse? Hey, let me talk to our chief. Can we go over to your firehouse or maybe meet in the middle if you're right on the border there? Whatever it is, get to know those folks, because the key is getting to know people before the bell goes off at 3 in the morning when the stuff's hitting the fan. Because the time to get to know the strengths and weaknesses of people is not at 3 in the morning when the smoke is banked down to the floor and you're crawling in your hands and knees through a building. You should have already figured that stuff out in normal times. You know, I've touched on strengths and weaknesses, but ultimately it helps you build and maintain relationships. Now, this is a picture of a number of my friends. Firehouse Expo when it was in Nashville back in 2015. In the front, the gentleman in the Hawaiian shirt you may or may not recognize. That is the late, great Alan V. Bernasini, former fire chief of Phoenix Fire. He passed away, unfortunately, sadly, in 2017, but a great, iconic fire service member that has definitely left things better than he found it. He was inducted into the Firehouse Magazine Hall of Fame, and I'm standing with a group of my friends and mentors, and we were all celebrating with Bruno. And my point here is not to brag about me. I'm very fortunate to have built a lot of good, solid working relationships with people all around the country and even in other countries. And some of that's through social media. Some of it is just by attending conferences, by reading magazines, by reaching out to people, just by, hey, we've never met before. You're a big mentor of mine. I'm Steve Prziborowski. Can I pick your brain a little bit about that article you wrote about ventilation or command and control? The fire service has some of the most approachable and nice people in the world that are more than happy to help people out there. So my point of showing this picture, you may not recognize a lot of these people, but I'm on the far left, obviously. Behind me is Bert Clark, Dr. Bert Clark. He's the guy that's still pushing seat belts in the year 2020. Now, you may go, what's the big deal? Well, the man is pushing seat belts, meaning wear your seat belt to save your life. He is still taking bullets. And now I talked a lot more in the first episode about why it takes courage under fire to be a leader. It takes courage under fire to be a leader because you're going to take bullets. You're going to take pot shots. People are critiquing you. Everyone's thinking they can do it better than you. And Bert Clark, for pushing seatbelts, that man, he tells me he gets a lot of hate mail just because of him pushing seatbelts, because there's still some in the fire service that think it's okay to not wear your seatbelt to the incident. I don't get it. It's the law that says I have to wear one in my personal vehicle, and it's also the law that says I have to wear it in the department vehicle. So if I'm breaking the law by not following the DMV or whatever laws, or I think they're just a suggestion, what other laws am I breaking? 2 in, 2 out? Oh, that's just a suggestion. That's not a law. No, it's a law in many states. Not every state, I know. But anyway, he gets hate mail from that. The bald guy next to me in the blue shirt, that's Shane Ray. Shane's been an advocate pretty much his whole life for fire sprinklers. How popular is that guy when it comes to being in a room pushing and advocating fire sprinklers? Now, as a firefighter, I hated fire sprinklers because, oh, that takes all the fun out of the job. Okay, the job's not all about me. The job is not all about fun. And when there are fires occurring, think about it. We're benefiting from someone's bad day. That's pretty morbid, isn't it? That sucks. So anyway, Shane was telling me all the haters that he gets sometimes, not necessarily on social media, but people that either don't embrace it fully, but there's still a lot of firefighters that don't embrace sprinklers because they think they'll take the fun out of the job and reduce the fires that are already reduced. Well, yeah, but it may save some lives too, and it may save some firefighter lives. Okay. You know, then there's some other people. Mark Nugent behind me in the yellow shirt there, a good solid dude there from the East Coast. The guy in the other blue shirt with the gray hair next, Otto. Otto is the fire chief of Billy Goldfeder. Billy Goldfeder, Firefighter Close Calls. Most of you in the fire service by now have heard of firefighterclosecalls.com. Emails that come out on a daily basis when things go bad, things we can learn from, trying to do the right thing. Billy is his deputy chief, and Otto, you know, I've talked to Billy Goldfeder. I mean, he spent his whole career in life pushing and pulling for firefighter safety. He's not saying don't go in the burning building. He's just saying do it safely, do it methodically. Just don't be stupid about it. But again, even Billy Goldfeder, his deputy chief, as a leader, by pushing proper safety things, sometimes takes crap. And then sort of skipping over Vicki Pritchett, who's done a lot as well with Shane Ray and the sprinklers, Chief Bernasini has spent 48 years when he was alive with the Phoenix Fire Department, 28 of those years as fire chief. For all the great things that that man did in the fire service, he had his haters out there. So my point here is that even as a leader of probably being the best known leader of this group in the fire service, Alan Bernasini, God rest his soul, he had a lot of haters. I mean, he had a lot of people in his court that supported what he did, but he had a lot of people that would take shots at him of, oh, who's this guy trying to talk to about command and control, about safety, customer service? Seriously, this dude's done a lot of great things for the fire service. Take the great things, don't worry about the not so great things. None of us are perfect. And then obviously Tim Sonnenbach in front of him. With the suit on. Tim was editor of Fire Rescue Magazine as well as Firehouse Magazine for a few years. as an editor of a magazine, your job is to stir the pot. Again, here's another fire service leader that took shots because of trying to be a leadership, trying to do the greatest good for the greatest number. And then obviously on the far end, Kevin Conant, retired San Jose, BC, and then Dr. Brian Crandall behind him in the back. Two other guys passionate about safety, passionate about leadership. And again, the majority of the fire service obviously embraces some of these concepts. You may see articles that these individuals have written. You may have attended classes or will attend classes or read articles. My point is that if you're going to be a good, solid leader, leadership does not come easy. So realize that even some of the best leaders out there are going to take shots. But the key is being resilient enough to not give up. Don't worry about the haters. Keep focusing on doing the greatest good for the greatest number. Even if and you may go, Steve, I just want to be the engine company captain of Engine 8 on the B shift managing my 2 firefighters. I don't want to write. I don't want to speak. I don't want to be known for anything short of just doing my job. And that's fine. And that's great. Then be known for doing your job, but it's still going to require you to have some courage on occasion to have to hold others accountable for the right reasons because they put you in that position. Back to relationships. Now, I saw this meme. This is funny. It's good to have relationships with our law enforcement brothers and sisters, but be careful about where you take it. Here's one shot. Our fire station's next door to the police department. Pranks ensue. You know, there's a sign on the left there with a box, free donuts. Be careful about posting stuff like this on social media because think about it. Law enforcement, firefighters, very strong-willed individuals. Sometimes we have to one-up each other. It's just the way we are. Well, sometimes the one-upping can lead to other things like this one here from the cops. Cops 1, firefighter 0. It's hard to read, but that sign in front of the firehouse, it says, shh, firemen sleeping. And obviously the firefighters of that fire station did not put that there, but obviously Public Works or the police department did that. It's not related to this issue, but it can easily relate to that issue. Have fun, get to know your allied agencies, your law enforcement folks, your city folks, break bread with them, invite them to the firehouse, but don't start prank wars because that stuff can get out of control very quickly. And next thing you know, it goes on social media. And the next thing you know, you got public citizens that are going, don't you guys have enough time? I mean, don't you guys have better things to do? Or my tax dollars are at great use here as you guys are sleeping or having fun. You know, I know most people don't always get to have fun on the job like we do, but again, we just got to be very careful of what we publicize, especially on social media, because it can get out of control quick. And we got a lot of explaining to do. I love this picture. I saw this. I'm not going to bash any generation. And before you start bashing another generation, whether it's older than you or whether it's younger than you or whether it's your own generation, I always have to remind people because it's so quick for older folks to complain about younger ones to complain about older ones. And I'm very quick to say, hey, think back 30, 40 years ago. Guess what they were saying about your grandparents or your parents' generation? They were talking crap about them, meaning the current generation. What do you think they'll be talking about 50 years from now to your kids and grandkids? The same thing. These young kids of today, and the young kids will be going, these old people of today. It's life. So don't talk crap about other generations. Good leadership involves embracing generations. Good leaders don't worry about, well, they're Generation X or they're Generation Y or they're the millennials. No, they're people, they're individuals, they're humans. Get to know them, train with them, find out their strengths and weaknesses. Realize this is a team effort. Leadership and teamwork starts at the firehouse. So we're not opposing each other, we're in this together. And Billy Goldfeder posted this on his Firefighter Close Calls a few years ago. All this technology is making us antisocial, a complaint that a lot of people say. Is it? Here's a picture from probably, I don't know, the 1920s, the 1930s, because there's still newspapers and there's still people that rode a train dressed in a suit. Just like when you see old ball games where you got people dressed up in full suits at a baseball game, it's like, seriously? But again, that was the time. I mean, that was the norm at the time, not now, obviously. Don't blame technology. If you're a leader blaming technology or blaming generations about the problem, look in the mirror because the problem is probably you. You're the one that's not willing to conform. And I know a lot of people say, why should I have to change to, you know, get credibility, respect from the young people? Well, that's the world we live in. You have two choices. You can either choose to fight it and you're not going to win the battle because you're going to be miserable and you'll probably just be so unhappy, or you may get disciplined, or you can try to embrace it. and make the best of it. And you're probably more happy and less stressed. It's not technology, it's the individual. So last way to win, don't forget why we're fortunate to be here. I say that a lot, but we are fortunate. And I don't take this for granted. I love what I'm fortunate to do every single day. You know, there was a picture a number of years ago, one of our cities, one of our engine companies, this girl at holiday time, obviously pre-social distancing, as you can tell, but here was a little girl in one of our cities that took the time every year to do a toy drive that she would try to recruit and get toy donations so she could give them to kids that needed the toys. And in some of our areas, we have kids, like in every community, that don't have the parents don't have the means to maybe give them a good holiday. So this little girl, the local news station was doing a news piece on her. So her parents were there with us and we were just out there. I mean, this is why we're fortunate to do what we do. Not just running calls, not just making someone's day better by putting out their house fire or saving them after a heart attack. It's also interacting with the public, getting smiles out of kids, doing good, positive public relations things. I mean, this should be the fun stuff. So on that note, at the end of the day, take care, be safe, be creative. You know, not all of us can have a 10-person engine company. You may only have a 1-person or a 2-person or a 3-person or whatever. Make the best of what you got. Keep the faith, remain committed to our mission, which is serving others. We're civil servants, public servants. That's why we signed up to do this job, to help others. You know, do the best you can with what you got to work with. It's as simple as that. I love this picture. This is something, I mean, everyone taking the first captain's test or lieutenant test, whatever your first level supervisor is, should be seeing this. This is what I sucked at as a new captain. When I was a new captain, I tried so hard to make people happy, and it backfired on me because I was too nice. Nice is good, but I tried too hard to make people be happy. And it took me a while to realize I can't make people happy. Only they can make themselves happy. I can provide a good, hopeful work environment. I can try to be a good leader. I can try to take care of them. I can try to do the right things, but by making people happy sometimes means that I'm maybe getting walked on as a leader or letting them get the best of me because I didn't want to put my foot down when I should have put my foot down. So I think the key is, yeah, if you want to make people happy, don't be a leader because you'll be disillusioned, you'll be unhappy. Sell ice cream. Everyone loves people that sell ice cream. So bottom line, don't let this happen on your watch. In the previous session, I talked a little bit about Mark McCormick. Mark was a captain of ours who was killed in the line of duty February 13, 2005. Mark was electrocuted at a structure fire. And if you Google online, the NIOSH report is out there. Some great lessons learned to take away. But my point is we need to learn from every injury, every fatality, every accident, every whatever bad thing that occurs to try to not let the bad things happen again. But sadly, history repeats itself time and time again, not just in the fire service, but worldwide. So we got to do a better job about learning from history to honor our fallen brothers and sisters. And it's not just fallen brothers and sisters, it's our brothers and sisters that have been fired, suspended, demoted because of maybe things that we as a leader didn't tell them to stop doing. Maybe we could have prevented them from getting disciplined, or maybe we could have prevented them from getting cancer, or having a mental health, behavioral health issue. I don't know, but we can do better as officers, leaders, supervisors. And that's just my challenge for all of you watching this right now. So in closing, remember that sometimes you're doing the right thing, you're going to feel alone. Doing the right thing, you get lonely. As they say, the higher up you go, can feel very lonely. There are going to be days when you feel like that. When I saw this picture a few years ago at the FDIC conference in Indianapolis, I saw a guy walking around the floor there. And I'm going, oh, I got to take a picture of this. If you're never feeling like, and you don't have to be the fire chief to feel this way. You could be the fire chief, a deputy chief, you could be a captain and feeling like this. Anyone in a supervisory position. If you're feeling like this the majority of the time, or never feeling like this, you're probably not doing your job because you're probably too nice. You're not holding people accountable. Or on the other end, you're holding people too much accountable and you're, I don't know, maybe micromanaging or being too heavy-handed. There's a balance. Occasionally, if you're doing your job, you're going to feel like that. The nice part is that when you feel like that, realize as long as it's not an ongoing thing every week, it'll blow over. Yeah, some people may hate you, not talk to you because of what you did for holding them accountable for something they did. But again, they put you in the position, and your position as an officer, leader, supervisor, manager was to do your job. And sometimes people put you in a position to do your job. And sometimes that may be the outcome is you're known as the department. Yeah. Okay. Because you did your job. That society is, it's weird. In today's society, it seems like everyone wants the other person held accountable, right? But when it comes to holding you accountable, now you're the other A word. I like to tell people, yeah, accountability is great for the other person, but when it comes to holding, well, you're holding me accountable? Why me? You should be holding him accountable. Guess what? Now you're considered the other A word. So given that, some resources that I have on my website, a couple entry-level books, as well as a promotional preparation book, also available on iTunes or Amazon. Also later this year, early next year, I've got a major publisher working on my 4th book, 101 Tips to Ace Your Next Fire Department Promotional Examination, which I will have on my website once those details are finalized. And I'm also working on a couple of Courage Under Fire leadership books as well too. So a lot of good things I have that I'm hoping to benefit others on. So in closing, thank you very much for the gift of your time. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I don't take that for granted. So thank you for the gift of your time. It is the gift. Don't just stay safe, make it safe. Here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out, connect with me on social media. If you're feeling like the department a-hole because of something you did or didn't do, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to offer advice and tell you, if you ask me, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but if you go, Steve, would you have done it that way? I may say, yeah, you did the right thing. Or I may say, hey, if I was you, maybe in the next time you have that situation, maybe try this versus that. I mean, but again, hey, who knows? Hey, you know what? We all should be resources for each other. Keep it at that. So in closing, again, thank you very much. Hopefully our paths will cross at some point in the future. And for the time being, as always, take care, be safe, and we'll get through this one way or another. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great day.